Hey guys, and welcome to Quality Shot. Myself and Venu are going to be going through day 3 of the Australia versus India test match at the MCG. How are you doing, Venu?
I'm doing good actually. A lot of cricket on again, so that's been keeping me busy today.
100%. Yeah, loads of cricket going on. Okay, so India were batting at the end of day 2 in their first innings. Rahane was on 104 not out and Jadeja on 40 not out. So they resumed on day 3 with those two pretty much, in and looking to add to their overnight totals. Okay, so Rahane and Jadeja, they started ticking along and didn't look too troubled, I would say, until a little bit of a I want to say a calamity of a run out, but I think this time it wasn't Rahane's fault. It was actually Jadeja's fault. But Jadeja has a tendency to run people out for India for some reason. He's done it a few times. I've actually watched him live do it in the Champions Trophy, for example, final. And he ran out Rahane, who was on 112 at the time. Very disappointing, I think, considering that Rahane was the man in form and looking to go even bigger. To be honest with you, he didn't look too troubled, and maybe a turning point in the match. But I think, to be honest with you, Jadeja added some more, and they probably would have liked a bigger lead than I think it was 130 odd lead that they had. But that run out, Venu, what do you think? Very briefly, let's touch upon, because I thought it was just a bit needless, really, from Jadeja to run that single. Good fielding by Labuschagne, though.
Yeah, excellent fielding from Labuschagne. I understand why he wanted to put the fielders on under pressure, but I'm sure his mindset was to bat for at least 2 sessions today.
Yeah.
A bit needless to run out his captain, who was on 100, looking really good. It was needless, as you said, but that's the right word, needless.
Yeah, Jadeja was on 49, so I think that's why he tried to push it, which is a bit silly in a way because he was batting okay, so could have just waited really. But as you said, yeah, needless. Okay, so apart from that, Ashwin came in and Yadav, Bumrah, they didn't really add much, to be honest, to the total. And honestly, Australia pretty much after that Rahane wicket, Stark got Jadeja. And then after that, it was pretty much all Australia for the rest of that session anyway. And Lyon did well to displace Yadav and Bumrah, the tailenders, and Hazelwood got Ashwin with a sharp piece of bowling from him. And Ashwin a bit disappointed to probably fall for 14 off 42. And as I said, a lead of 130 is still a decent sized lead. But I think the position they were in, they were probably hoping for a lead of at least 150. So I think that's why they would have been disappointed, not maybe in the overall match situation. Okay, so then let's briefly touch upon. So one thing I actually wanted to say, Nathan Lyon, I thought bowled quite well, Venu. He bowled a little bit better today, don't you think?
Got 3 wickets. Yeah, he got the key wickets. He cleaned up the tail at the end, which is important. And he got a Vihari as well. So yeah, I thought he's bowling a lot better this innings.
Yeah, 100% for sure. And Pat Cummins put in a shift, and so did Mitchell Stark bowling 26 and 27 overs respectively. So fair play to them as well. Okay, so Australia then, as I said, having to bat. Hopefully, they were hoping to bat long and also get a biggish score on the board. Started off okay in terms of Matthew Wade, but in terms of the overall innings, obviously Joe Burns fell at 4 for 1. So again, not an ideal scenario for Australia, and already putting Marnus Labuschagne under pressure straight away. And this is something that we've seen in this Test series, that we've said how important Labuschagne and Steve Smith are in terms of getting them runs. But if you put them under pressure like the openers have been, it's very difficult for them to just settle in. And he fell for 28 off Ashwin. Now, the biggest thing I think for me is Steve Smith. So once again, failing with the bat, only 8. And the way he got out was very bizarre. We know that he has that trigger movement where he shifts across the stumps, but he shifted across so much that Bumrah bowled him round his legs and clipped the top of leg stump. And I just think there's something something not quite right about him. I don't know whether he did say that he had the back spasms that came back before the first test, so he missed that practice session. I don't know whether that's playing up because that can be quite painful when you're batting, especially when you're in that position constantly, kind of crouched over. I don't know whether it's that or whether it's just a poor lack of form or just a maybe it's both factors together. But it's kind of worrying to see someone who, to be honest, has just been voted ICC Test Player of the decade. He doesn't look it in this Test series, that's for sure. Yeah, what do you think of Matthew Wade? Very slow innings from his kind of from what he's normally used to doing. He doesn't normally go at 29 strike rate, but do you think it was needed at the time, Venu?
Yeah, it was definitely needed at the time, considering when he was on the other end and they were 3 down, so Burns, Labuschagne, and Smith. Your main run getters in terms of Labuschagne and Smith over the last year or so. And I think he had to bat slowly to kind of shepherd the middle order. And it's not really a Matthew Wade type of innings. He's not that type of player that can, dig a hole a bit like Rahane or Pujara. But it was required at the time.
Yeah, 100%. I just think, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because they needed it at the time. I think you're right. Obviously, Travis Head kind of fading again, 17. Siraj got him out. And it's just one of those things that the Australian batting lineup, and I've said this kind of multiple times, that no one looks in nick. And it kind of showed again today. They had a chance to be, for example, 150, 170 for 2, for 3, but they just didn't capitalize on it. Some good bowling from India as well, but I think, again, poor application from the Australian batsmen, and they'll be disappointed. And to kind of end the day on 133 for 6, Tim Payne, let's touch upon that. What do you think of the dismissal? So obviously they're saying DRS. So on Snicko, it showed as it was a nick, but on Hotspot there was no shadow basically, or there's nothing on Hotspot to show that it was a nick. What do you think? Because from my perspective, I think it's okay, because Snicko, I think, is supposed to be what you go to as a fullback, but obviously Hotspot sometimes doesn't always pick it up if it's a very faint one. I think sometimes, I could be wrong, but what's your opinion on it? Do you think it should show on both and you should give the batsman the benefit of the doubt if it doesn't?
I think what was interesting with the Snicker footage there, that it wasn't a sharp spike, and there seems to be some background noise before and after it goes past the bat. So if the third umpires can confidently say that's definitely hit the bat, then fair enough, give him out. But I'm not sure that was you can never be 100% sure, but I think that was maybe a 50-50 call there, and I think the benefit should really go to the batsman there.
Yeah, that's interesting. You're saying about obviously not being a sharp line on Snicko, so maybe that has to be factored in. Yeah, I think the benefit of the doubt does need to be with the batsman if they're not 100% sure, as you said, or they're not very confident that that he's definitely nicked it. Interesting to see whether they talk to Tim Payne in the media after and ask him whether he actually nicked it or not, because as I've said before, batsmen normally know 99% of the time whether they've nicked it or not. So it would be nice to hear from him whether he's actually nicked it or not, because if he hasn't, for example, then they need to look into maybe the system and say, how have we just used that? And if he has, then even then they need to look into it and say, well, Hotspot hasn't picked up, and as you said, it wasn't a very conclusive spike, so why hasn't it picked up? So I think either way, it needs to be looked at, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and also, Tim Payne hasn't been short of DRS controversy, a review controversy this Test match. He wasn't given out with that run out in his first innings, so that one went for him and this one went against him, so it kind of evened it out in a way. But I think it's something they need to look at, the ICC, just to make the technology better. I think that's something they need to look at.
Okay, fair enough. I think Pat Cummins and Cameron Green, obviously that partnership is going to be vital now for Australia to see whether they can get anything really to pressure the Indian batsmen in that second innings, because obviously they've only got a lead of 2 runs at the moment. They're going to have to go big, one of them. And obviously you're looking really at Cameron Green as someone who's probably is more likely to get those runs. And Pat Cummins is going to have to kind of stick with him. They've also got Mitchell Starc, Hazelwood and Lyon. And as we said before, the Australian tail can wag. But
if they can wag. If they get 101 lead, you know, it's going to be difficult for India, especially on a day 4 pitch with Starc, Cummins, Hazelwood, and Lyon coming at you, one of the best bowling attacks going around. It'll be difficult for them, and the 36 all out will be in the back of their minds. So I think if Green and Cummins, they can both bat. Certainly Green can. Obviously, just started his Test career. If one of you get a 50, I'm sure they can push to a 100+ lead.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think anything over 100, and they're thinking, the Australian bowlers will be thinking, you know what, we can push something here. Especially Nathan Lyon, as you said, on this track, as soon as cracks appear and, you know, there's potholes, etc., he'll be relishing the opportunity. And they always show that when he's bowling in the second innings, he's a lot more aggressive in the way he bowls, and he utilizes the pitch very well. So I do think anything over 100 and we're in for a game, but Australia really need to push forward in day 4. And then who knows, as you say, Venu, we may get a 5-day test match here, to be honest with you. So I know you're really looking forward to it. You don't think so?
I don't think it'll go to 5 days.
You don't think? I think if Australia they could kind of drop anchor for the first half of tomorrow a little bit, get their eye and then go forward. And if they get a lead, then it can maybe be a case of it kind of goes over to day 5, but only for one session, if that makes sense. I don't think it'll be like a whole day of day 5.
I think it'll. The most it go to is they ask for half an hour extra in the day. I don't see it going to day 5, but potentially, but I don't see.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. I can see why I'd say that, to be fair. I think it's going to be an interesting day tomorrow, that's for in this test match. Okay, thanks very much. Anything else you want to touch upon before we wrap up here?
Not really. I think India will be looking to get a quick wicket tomorrow morning and expose the tail, and obviously Australia looking for Green and Cummins to continue their partnership, which is already at around 34 runs. So they're looking to build up tomorrow.
Yeah, 100%. Let's see how they go. Okay, thanks very much, Venu, for being on again. And guys, check out, we've just released a new segment of Venu's weekly cricket catch-up, number 4, a new little thumbnail as well that we've got, which is really cool. Venu's put together a really, really good video and segment this week, so check it out, covering these test matches, but also a lot of other issues and discussions that we went through, which was really, really interesting to talk about. Okay, thank you very much, guys, and I'll see you on the next video. Thanks.